this time, we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast through your internet collective consciousness. We will speak on the topic today as it relates to time travel and intervention. That when you look into the idea of what you have termed time travel to be, that you only understand time as a particular aspect of measurement, what you would understand as a temporal measurement, and that through your seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, this has all been invented through the idea of rotations, through the idea of cycles, through the idea of passes. So when you're really looking into the idea of time travel, it is all part of the measurement in regards to interdimensionality. But through time travel, in regards to the idea of actual dimensional travel, you are looking at something that represents a sea of Earths, and that all particular Earths contained within the sea hold a particular theme representing them, and that this particular theme can have some type of minute difference in regards to the Earth that you understand now, or it can even have a major difference pertaining to the type of Earth that you are aware of now. But when you are actually holding a capability to time travel, you are crossing a dimensional plateau. Now basically, the idea of the dimensions as they function through the aspect of time travel hold a parallel conjunction. It is not, shall we say, a adding of dimension or a lessening of dimension. They all represent different configurations of dimensions that hold together your own space-time-matter nexus. And so when one is able to actually time travel or dimensionally travel, they are moving into an aspect of a reality that holds a different degree of divergent memory. We refer to this as dimensional residual memory. So when you are able to somehow impose upon yourself the idea of, so shall we say, going into meditation, or utilizing some type of technological instrument to actually manipulate the space-time-matter field, and moving yourself into a portal, a way zone, into a different dimensional Earth. And when you are able to move into this dimensional Earth, something, again, minute or major will take effect. And that the whole idea in that sense is if you are looking to meet yourself in another dimensional Earth, this can be possible. If you are looking to, shall we say, discover a relative or discover a friend that in your own particular dimensional Earth had passed away, therefore they may have the opportunity to be alive within this particular dimensional Earth. It is all based upon the variable of assignment that you give as it relates to the idea of the jump that you make from one dimensional Earth to another dimensional Earth. So if it was for the intention to see a relative that has passed away from your native or indigenous dimensional line of Earth, and you have somehow imposed upon yourself the ability to travel through a wormhole, through a passageway, through a portal, to another dimensional Earth, where that particular relative now still exists. Now, that will not be the only minute change that you may discover. You may notice that there can be different configurations as it represents the outline and landscape of your cities. You may also notice other particular forms of, perhaps, minutia as it relates to environment. You also may relate to the idea that there are different orientations in regards to your circle of family, circle of friends. It all just depends. Now, basically, yes, this can be possible. It is possible to travel to a different dimensional Earth utilizing consciousness, or again, technological instrumentation means. It is also possible to harness particular stargates or portals that exist upon the Earth that are appropriately configured to move into different dimensional Earth planes. So yes, that is possible. Now, when you are looking at the idea of actually going into this particular dimensional Earth, you are not able to return back fully to the idea of your indigenous dimensional line. Well, why is that? Why can't one decide to move back into their indigenous dimensional line once again? The reason being is because of the memory that you hold in the idea of a derelict dimensional line. So when you are actually existing in a different dimensional plane, a different dimensional line, a different dimensional earth, you have attained memories based upon that particular dimensional line. And through those memories that you carry, when you attempt to go back to the dimensional line that represents your indigenous aspect, you will only be able to return to something that corroborates to somewhat of a similarity pertaining to that particular timeline. So the whole idea in that sense is that the memory itself is what actually keeps yourself at bay from being able to return back into your actual indigenous timeline. If it is possible that the memory itself can be wiped, then it could be quite possible that you could return back into your original indigenous dimensional line. Now understand that there are certain faculties, agencies, contained within your space operations, your secret space programs, that have, again with insiders, as you call them, have shared that their memories have been wiped so that they can return to a previous version of themselves at a younger age. Yes, this is indeed possible. However, for those in that sense that are basically having the leak of their memories returned to them, that idea of the original timeline is now being sabotaged. Because, again, as we stated, it is memory in regards to different dimensional lines that are bringing you into the crossing thresholds of different dimensional Earths. So that is, again, part of the aspect of your travel in between different dimensions. This is, again, why many of you who understand the Mandela effect have noticed that you have crossed into a different universe where the minutiae pertaining to collective happenstance, collective phenomena, is different from your own native or indigenous reality. From the idea of, shall we say, television shows, movies, books, people within your life, people who in that sense have not passed away in regards to the same amount of time that they did in your original indigenous dimensional line. So again, the whole idea is that the Mandela effect represents the idea of a type of dimensional travel through the, shall we say, incorporation of different dimensional, residual, memory engrams that have been placed within you. So because many people are being able to retrieve memories, they are now conjuncting themselves together to move into an entirely different indigenous Earth. Now understand that when you are moving into another dimensional Earth, it is not anybody else that has changed. When you are moving into a different dimension, you are the one that holds the container pertaining to memories that differ from that particular indigenous universe of an Earth plane. So they have not, in that sense, speaking of the people that exist within that universe, they have not been the ones that have been indoctrinated with some type of memory. You have. As we stated, you're the only one here. You're the creator of your own reality. And so, this does happen even on a collective level, that there are many, in regards to groups, that have moved themselves together into a different dimensional Earth. This is why many of you remember the same thing in regards to a different reality, but now you are coming together and you are discovering that those particular forms of continuities are no longer valid. And this is what we say as multiple universes being able to crisscross and transfer themselves together upon another dimensional Earth, where many of the indigenous inhabitants, such as human beings, for example, are not aware of the particular types of changes and transformations that these particular individuals are now remembering. So you could refer to this again as dimensional residual memory. You could refer to this as divergent memory. Because basically what is happening is that you are shifting because the memories within your mind that become conscious are shifting you into another reality. Which means that this is basically what you would understand as the frame set, the strip of frames, the strip of film that represent you moving from one earth to another because of memory. Memory is the culprit that allows you to move from one particular dimensional earth to another dimensional earth, because there are certain memories being pulled into you that are allowing you to time or dimensionally travel into that new indigenous earth that is now a part of yourself. All because of these memories returning. There is something there in regards to that appropriate reality that is calling your name, that is bringing you here, that is allowing your vibration to move you into the life of that particular dimensional line. So, we do not really look at it in the way of timelines. We look at it more so in the idea of dimensional lines, but again, timelines can be acceptable as a form of label. But again, when you are looking into the idea of these dimensional travels, understand that everything pertaining to the sea of Earths all function together as this very large cord. And as you look into this cord, you see all of these miniature strings that are all moving together in synchronicity. Even when there may be the opportunity for you to actually move into a different Earth that may hold a different type of theme to it, it is still attached to this larger cord. It just may be on a much further aspect of the other end. So basically, you could take this cord and you could put it together into certain forms of divisions in that particular way as it relates to theme. So the whole idea in that sense of looking at a very dystopia, or shall we say post-apocalyptic Earth. Now that would not be in your division aspect of appropriate, shall we say, sub-chords that contain a particular Earth. It may very well be on the opposite end, but it is still there. Think of it in that idea as braids. And so they do not share the same braids, but they do share the same cord altogether, as it represents the stream and the theme of these different types of dimensional Earths. So therefore, how does one dimensionally travel? Go through these particular time loops in that way? Well, as we stated, that it is possible for stargates to be a particular form of assister in this way. It is possible for instruments to actually work together through particular forms of natural, increased aspects of Earth energy. So basically what this means is that as you visit much of the grid points of your planet, utilizing a particular form of instrument similar to what this conduit understands as radionics, you can actually attune the vibration to dimensionally travel, because now you are harnessing much of the Earth energy that connects to the grid points of different stargates, waypoints, wormholes, etc. And you are now being able to tap into that with a certain instrument. And as this instrument is able to attune itself appropriately into the dimensional reality of your choosing, you can now allow yourself to either physically or astrally connect yourself into those particular planes. Most often, in regards to inventions, instruments such as that, you are actually being able to siphon your own astral body, your own transient form, from one dimension to another, so that you can look at different types of parallel Earths. This can also represent the idea of becoming extra-dimensional, and actually being able to go beyond the Earth and looking into different dimensional aspects as it relates to other planets, other realms, other phenomena in that way. So that is primarily how it can be done in regards to a instrument level that can coax yourself to that of a physical or astral-based exploration of the idea of different dimensional lines. Now, yes, it is possible for you to physically transit yourself from one particular form of indigenous reality into another. Now, this is often done through the idea of singularity. For those in that sense who are able to actually develop certain forms of energetic systems, energetic devices or instruments that can in that sense harness the ability of black holes or singularities, as we would refer to them, a black or white hole. They are not technically black holes. That is somewhat of a distortion. It would be more appropriate to look at that in regards to a polarity of black and white holes, which represents the idea of absorbing and repelling. That would be more of an appropriate junction. The idea of your modern science pertaining to referring to them just as black holes is somewhat inaccurate. So basically what you are doing is you are utilizing certain forms of technology that again will often represent itself with advanced particle physics, like what your CERN has been able to accomplish, pertaining to what they have referred to as miniature singularities or miniature black holes, or again in our particular way, minute forms of black and white hole impressions. That this particular energy that requires such a form of boost to power a certain device can therefore be harnessed. And again, if you are able to input certain forms of instructions where the black and white hole singularity is able to power this, then it is actually possible to create a field that is basically wrapping itself around you. And again, through the coordination that you are able to input, you can actually allow yourself to visit different forms of dimensional Earths through the means of such apparatus. So again, this is not something that is commonly available upon your planet, but it is something that can be possible. Now, we understand that CERN, yes, has been able to do this. They have attempted to do certain forms of dimensional travel in that way, time travel in that way, and they have been stopped. The whole idea really is that if you are attempting to, shall we say, create such an apparatus to physically shifting yourself off the planet, there are certain forms of regulators, or as we refer to them as interventionalists, that will actually come in and prevent such occurrences from happening. Now basically, if you are not able to get the message across, and if it is in fact an agency that is attempting to, shall we say, perform these particular types of jumps, then basically these interventionalists will come in and sabotage the works. This is the reason why CERN has had, shall we say, multiple forms of, shall we say, difficulties in regards to their equipment. It has been shut down. It has been sabotaged. And it is often sabotaged by these time interventionalists. Now, there are certain forms of time interventionalists that are extra-dimensional, that are extraterrestrial, and that are even terrestrial, which means that, yes, they are human. Now, they basically operate in different means in regards to realities. Many of them even operate in another parallel Earth that you could refer to in that sense of your not-so-distant future. There are certain forms of time corporations that exist in different streams of time based upon the urgency, or shall we say, the themes that they have been assigned to. That, again, as one particular form of insider has revealed, that the year 2039 represents one aspect pertaining to the idea of what you would know as a time corporation, or time core. There are also other particular forms of time core registrations, or agencies, that exist within your mid to late 21st century, mid to late 25th century, mid to late 29th to 30th century. But again, they all represent different forms of, shall we say, compartmentalization as it relates to the idea of what you would know as your world continuity. So basically, you would understand that the most recent aspect pertaining to a time corporation would relate to those in that sense that exist within your year of 2039, or again, approximately around the area of your mid-21st century. Now understand that their own particular corroboration of time, of dimensional aspect, varies based upon, again, the natural continuity of your own dimensional shifting. Meaning, again, as you continue to progress as a culture, they now start to move themselves forward. Think of it in the idea of a corporation that is basically taking at least 3 steps forward relating to humanity. So as humanity takes 1 step forward, they therefore compensate themselves with 3 additional steps. So again, basically giving them an advantage of approximately 2 to 3 decades ahead of you. So this is basically the immediate aspect of a certain division as it represents time interventionists or time corporations. Now these particular time corporations do follow particular forms of orders that are given by other particular means of management. And these management in that sense can also represent different dimensional beings. You have beings that exist in higher dimensions known as keepers of time. And that in that sense they are completely non-physical. They do not exist within your temporal, space, matter, time, plane, nexus whatsoever. But they are in that sense able to communicate in behest of other particular forms of facilitators who then will communicate with other particular facilitators in regards to these appointed agencies that therefore form alliance. So you could refer to this as a temporal interventionist alliance. And so again, human beings are involved, extra-dimensional beings are involved, extraterrestrials are involved, non-physicalized essence is involved. And so it all works together in a different contingency in that way. But as we said, there are other particular of advanced degrees pertaining to the idea of time corporations that exist in other particular centuries, and that are, again, safeguarding other particular aspects as it represents dimensional lines in that particular way. Well, Adronis, is it possible for one person to go back in time, change something, and would that actually affect our own concurrent reality? The answer is no, it would not. The whole idea in that sense is because your own aspect pertaining to a space-matter-time nexus is not unregulated, as again, another insider has shared, which we also concur. That again, everything pertaining to the idea of time travel, dimensional travel, is all being monitored. Very much similar to how you would understand that your own CIA, your own NSA, etc., has been monitoring much of your internet, much in regards to these particular forms of corporations, agencies, organizations, etc., are monitoring dimensional lines. And so basically what is happening is that they hold certain forms of technology that can actually repair fabrics that are attempting to be damaged, pertaining to, shall we say, unregulated time travelers in that way. Now again, this does not always relate to the idea of your own humans, pertaining to the idea of attempting to contaminate certain dimensional lines that are attempting to bring a convergence in regards to what you would consider to be your current time period, your current present. And so basically they are being monitored, and there is the aspect of, shall we say, repairing the rift between those particular dimensional lines that get abused. And so they do get stopped. But again, other particular beings can come onto this planet and are attempting to create other forms of quote-unquote dimensional havoc by attempting to alter certain events. They too are being stopped, not from the time core that you would understand as the 2039ers, but again, more so of what you would know as the 22nd, 24th, 29th, 30th centuries as well too, in regards to those appropriate divisions. So they too are working together in helping to sanitize much of the dimensional lines that represent some particular type of internal affair through your own planet, or again, other particular forms of outer territorial affairs that have some type of association with your planet, but go abroad. And so again, there is a particular form of corporation, interventionalists, agencies, organizations at work here to ensure that everywhere that you are meant to go is all part of the harmony based upon, shall we say, the will of the keepers of time. And again, these keepers of time are non-physical. Many of them in that sense do exist non-physically within your own Earth. Some again also exist non-physically within the center of this galaxy. So again, it can be very broad in regards to their particular forms of essences as it relates to much of their origin points. But again, they have basically received instructions just like what you would know as a hierarchical ladder. Not in regards to superiority or inferiority, but it's more so in the idea of the depth of perspective from when we look into the idea of this hierarchical ladder. So, in a nutshell, this represents the idea of time or dimensional travel. This also represents the idea of the responsibilities of many of the different forms of interventionalists that are maintaining the aspect in regards to the creators, the keepers of time, to ensure that your race, to ensure that your planet is moving ahead as it is needed to encourage the aspect of progression, advancement, evolution, and ascension. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again. Farewell for this timing, and we now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye.